Ever wonder what would happen if someone took on the most sensitive topics of our time without holding back?
We've had enough. It's okay if you're proud of your sexuality, but why do I have to be proud of your sexuality?
What if that person did it with biting humor and bold moves? Piers Morgan has made it his mission to do just that, aiming at woke culture in ways that leave everyone talking, from threatening to lock up anyone who insists on using preferred pronouns to calling out policemen for wearing pride armbands. Piers isn't afraid to go head-to-head with what he calls the illiberal mob. How far will he go next? What controversies will he spark? Meanwhile, you may want to grab your popcorn because we're about to go on a very interesting journey. Stay tuned!
Sexuality anybody is. I don't think most people do anymore.
Right, so what is the problem then? Why are you so triggered by a flag?
It's a
rainbow flag. You mentioned Regent Street.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag.
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight
Where's
everywhere?
my straight flag?
Why am I constantly getting
Where
straight
is my straight flag?
Why are straight people holding hands in the street?
When have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why has Mickey Mouse got a
Tell
girlfriend?
me one straight flag hanging right now anywhere in the world.
Why are straight people
Where is the straight flag?
Identity
Where's the straight
me?
flag?
Everywhere.
Where's my straight flag?
It's everywhere.
It's never been a straight flag.
You're a straight flag.
Piers Morgan has never been the type to run away from tough conversations, but ever since he crowned himself the Minister for Abolishing Wokery, he's been on a fierce mission to take down woke culture. Before he became the outspoken critic of all things woke, Piers was just a regular co-host on Good Morning Britain, where he was often caught in the middle of debates about political correctness. But now, he's determined to shake things up, and you won't believe how far he's willing to go. As Piers stayed with the channel, he tried to be the voice that subtly pushed back whenever absurd topics came up, but he lost it when discussion about the definition of a woman came up.
What do you feel if Usain Bolt suddenly identified as a woman?
That's a ridiculous question.
Oh,
and you know
why?
it is. Come on, that's
Why?
silly. Because you can't wake up tomorrow morning and decide that you're a woman and start competing.
It's literally what Leah Thomas has done.
It takes 2 years. In the UK, it takes 2 years.
It takes 1 year to qualify in athletics, right? So Usain Bolt could potentially, within a year, with a bit of reduced testosterone treatment, he could sprint against women.
A huge reduction in testosterone.
Yeah,
it
makes no difference to body mass or size or power.
But it would
speed.
It would alter everything.
So you'd be fine? Would you be fine with that?
If he suddenly did, if that's
you respect his right to be
ridiculous.
a woman. It's not ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but not for the reasons you think.
But
because it could happen. And you think it's fair.
That's obscene. That is obscene.
While the talk show brought on self-proclaimed gender studies experts who explained that anyone could be a woman, Piers was unwavering in his beliefs on the definition of a woman being an adult female human. But they weren't having it. He would go on to get into heated arguments with several individuals on different topics, but he always tried to be logical, even when the other parties tried to force emotions and feelings into the mix. Unfortunately for Piers Morgan, his run-ins with these types of situations had just begun, and he would even come across some so ridiculous that he could no longer stand back and watch. Piers Morgan's bold stance against the status quo didn't go unnoticed. It wasn't long before other media personalities came after him, insisting he should adopt society's new ideas of what it means to be a woman. Some liberal media outlets even teamed up, trying to push Piers to become more progressive. But Piers wasn't having it. He preferred to approach things with logic instead of just going along with the crowd. As he continued to speak out, he started to see a troubling pattern. People were being pressured to give up their own opinions and follow whatever the progressive media said. Piers realized this mob was using cancel culture to silence anyone who dared to think differently, comparing them to totalitarian states run by fascists. Of course, that didn't sit well with them, but Piers refused to back down. No matter how they tried to spin it on Piers, he didn't give them the satisfaction of bullying him or silencing him. Instead, he always asked straightforward questions that caused the supposed experts to have a rethink. Even when it was glaring that Piers made superior arguments, he never seemed to convince them enough to change their stand. And it didn't take long before they kicked him out. On his last day as a co-host of Good Morning Britain, Piers Morgan did something no one expected. He walked off the set after a heated argument with his weather anchor over accusations of targeting Meghan Markle. In a previous interview with Oprah Winfrey, Meghan Markle shared how she faced racist comments from senior members of the British royal family.
Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And
who is having that conversation with you? What?
So,
there is a conversation. Hold up.
There's
Stop
several
right now.
There's several conversations.
There's a
about
conversation with you?
With Harry.
While Piers felt sorry for her, he didn't believe her claim that these comments made her feel suicidal. His remarks sparked a huge backlash from the media, who accused him of being racist. It wasn't long before Piers had to make a tough choice: apologize for his opinions or lose his job.
And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this program.
Even by the standards of a show in which confrontation is nothing new, this between two of its presenters this morning was extraordinary.
But yet you continue to trash her.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, mate, but not my own stuff.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This
this.
is absolutely diabolical behavior.
True to his no-nonsense style, Piers walked away from his cushy job on Good Morning Britain, leaving the woke crowd thinking they had finally silenced him. But what they didn't realize was that Piers was just getting started. The fight was far from over, and Piers was ready to make even more noise. Not long after walking out on live television, Piers Morgan made a comeback with a dedicated show on YouTube and Twitter where he tackled the tough questions head-on. Without his network bosses holding him back, Piers was able to discuss topics no one would dare mention, and he would go on to humiliate progressive thinkers who were authorities on all things woke. One of those touchy topics was the cancel culture aspect of modern society that just seemed like a tool to punish those who didn't conform to the status quo. To drive home his point, he compared the woke mob to Nazi Germany and North Korea, where expressing your opinion meant being killed. He even created a segment where he invited several leaders of online mobs, but at the end of the day, they could never be reasoned with. One of the reasons Piers Morgan became public enemy number one was his strong objection to trans women competing in female sports. He didn't hold back when he used former American soccer player Megan Rapinoe as an example, criticizing her for saying it's okay for biological males to compete with females on the US women's national team. Piers argued that Rapinoe could only say that because she was already retired and wouldn't have to face the competition herself. He couldn't understand why it was so controversial to say that men and women shouldn't compete in the same sports, but as usual, the woke crowd made it seem like he just wasn't progressive enough.
And by Talk TV contributor Paul Arone-Adrian, who will still be attempting to defend the indefensible on this issue. Well, Glenique Frank, just to be clear, or Glenn Frank, whichever Glenn or Glenique is identifying as this week, was invited to appear but pulled out this morning. And like I say, Glenique or Glenn, again, we don't know because Glenique's going back to being Glenn in future races and has always run as Glenn before, did say it was wrong. But you are asked when you enter the London Marathon, which category do you want to run in? Male or female? Or non-binary?
Even with everyone calling for his head, Piers Morgan didn't shy away from defending people he believed were being bullied for having a different opinion. One example was his friend and fellow TV personality Sharon Osbourne. Sharon found herself in hot water after she was accused of being racist and a bully just because she questioned why Piers was fired from Good Morning Britain. It all happened while she was sitting across from her co-host, Cheryl Underwood. When the topic of Piers Morgan's comments on Meghan Markle came up, Piers was quickly labeled as a racist bully, but Sharon didn't agree. She tried to understand why everyone thought Piers was racist, but her co-host pushed her so hard that she was brought to tears by the end. Interestingly, Piers Morgan had worked with Sharon Osbourne on America's Got Talent, so when she stood up to defend him, it was like she was pushing back against all the woke social norms. Things got heated fast, and Sharon was accused of all sorts of bad things. But Piers didn't leave her hanging. He wasn't going to let them twist the story to make her look evil, so he stepped up and defended Sharon when everyone else was against her. If Piers Morgan's stand against being labeled as a racist wasn't clear enough, he went even further by taking on the trend of using preferred pronouns. This hot topic stirred up a lot of anger, but Piers didn't budge in his logical argument against this so-called progressive movement. He made it clear how funny it sounds for people to pick their pronouns and genders whenever they want by joking that he would change his gender to hottest man alive. When the woke crowd tried to argue against Piers' new fake gender, they ended up showing just how confusing the whole thing was, proving Piers right in the end.
If I said my pronoun was hottest man alive, if that was my genuine pronoun, would you feel obliged to call me that every day? Hey, hottest man alive? No, you wouldn't, would you? No. So
even though Piers Morgan didn't hold any personal grudges against those who push woke culture, he knows that fighting them directly can be risky. Having worked as a TV presenter, Piers understands how far people will go to hurt anyone who disagrees with them. He's also aware that they could use cancel culture to make his life difficult, which could make living a normal life very challenging. Even though challenging people to think for themselves and not just follow their emotions can be risky, Piers Morgan shows no signs of backing down. With the mainstream media spreading all sorts of twisted stories, Piers might seem like a small drop in the ocean, but having one brave person speak up when everyone else is too scared might be exactly what's needed to shift the conversation and make a difference. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Piers Morgan's relentless battle against woke culture and his bold stand on controversial issues. Do you think his approach is a breath of fresh air, or is it too risky? How do you feel about his clashes with the progressive media and his defense of those under attack? If you enjoyed this deep dive into Piers Morgan's fearless journey and want to stay updated on similar topics, don't forget to like and subscribe for more engaging content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.